Hi again. In this slide, we will comment on pattern number 2. The components of pattern number 2, they are SVC. S, which stands for the subject, V, which stands for the verb, and C, which stands for the complement. Specifically, in this pattern, we are going to talk about the subjective complement. The subject, that's to say, complement. Why do we call it as? We have mentioned this earlier in the previous lecture, though we haven't explained it. That's to say, depending on a video. We mentioned that the subjective complement, why do we call it as subjective complement? Because it completes the meaning of the subject, whether in the way of describing the subject or identifying the subject. That's to say, classifying the subject or giving as if an identity for that subject. Okay, so the sentence starts with the subject, the starting point, of course, plus the verb. Which type of verb? Of course, I mean the main verb, plus a complement for the subject. And here, the complement for the subject could be either an adjective, which describes the subject, or a noun, pronoun, noun phrase, which identifies, which classifies, which gives an identification for the subject. So we will tackle this pattern in two ways. But the two ways here, they are completely connected with the subject. They give us a kind of information about the subject, whether in the form of description, to say Ali is happy, okay, or in the form of identification, to say Ali is a teacher. So once I say Ali is happy, I mean what? I'm describing Ali as being happy. Once I say Ali is a teacher, I'm identifying which Ali I'm talking about, as if I'm giving an identity, هوية, for Ali, to say he is, for example, a teacher. I'm classifying here the subject, to say Ali is a teacher. This is in general about this pattern. Okay, pattern number 2. So all what we are going to see after the verb will be a completer for the subject, a kind of a complement for the subject only. Okay, so of course, whenever we come across a pattern, we talk in terms of the structure of the pattern, the components of the pattern, and the grammatical meaning of each element within this pattern. So you remember we said earlier that with pattern number 1, the grammatical meaning of the subject is that of the doer of the action, right? So we're going here in pattern number 2 to see what are the grammatical meanings of each element in this pattern. So how many elements do we have in this pattern? We have 3 elements. They are the subject, the verb, as well as the complement. What do we mean by the complement here? We mean the subjective complement. Okay, the grammatical meaning of the subject in this pattern is that it means what? That which is described, the same as Ali is happy, or that which may be identified as, the same as I say Ali is a teacher. So once I say Ali is happy, so the grammatical meaning of Ali, the subject here, is what? Is that Ali is described as happy. That which is described. Ali is a teacher. Ali may be identified as a teacher. So Ali is happy. Ali will be described as happy. But Ali is a teacher. Ali will be identified as what? As a teacher. So that which is described, or that which may be identified or classified as. Okay. Here in general, we know that complement can be of 2 types, either subjective complement O, objective complement. If I add a complement that is connected with the subject, so I'm going to say it is a subjective complement. But if the here the complement completes the meaning of the object, so we are going to say it is what? An objective complement. This is in general, okay? But specifically in this pattern, pattern number 1, we are going to talk about subjective complement. All the things that occur after the verb, the main verb of course, will give me a clear picture about the subject, whether in the form of description or identification. Okay. Here, this leads us to see that this pattern can be of 2 sub-patterns. Let's say this pattern is divided into 2 sub-patterns. Why is that? Because we will see that the subject might be described as or might be identified or classified as. So again, why do we have such sub-patterns within the same patterns? Because the subjective complement can be of different meanings, grammatically speaking, and can be of different forms. We will see this. Okay. So sub-pattern number 2A, we mean A, the first sub-pattern in pattern number 2. It is a noun phrase, that's to say the subject, plus linking verb plus adjective. You see, so what occurs after the linking verb, that's say the main verb, is supposed to be adjective. So once I say adjective, it means it is going to describe the subject. So this is the first form of the subjective complement, that's say the adjective. And here the adjective describes the subject. So the food is good. The food is the subject, the noun phrase. Is the linking verb, be, form of be, and good is the adjective. The manager seems upset. The manager is the noun phrase, subject of the sentence. Seems is one of the linking verbs. Okay. Upset again is the adjective. So why do we have 2 different examples? As I know, it is the verb, one form of verb to be, and seem is one of the linking verbs, like seem, for example, appear, remain, grow, become, sound, etc. Okay, purely they are linking. But why do we consider here be, though I know, is as a linking verb, though it is one form of the, because here is links the adjective with the subject. They link the adjective with the subject. This is why here be is considered as a linking verb. Okay. In this pattern, in pattern number 2, and specifically the first sub-pattern A, we have the first element to be the subject, the second element to be the linking verb. It links the adjective with the subject. The third element must be adjective or adjectival. Okay. Adjective if it is one verb. Okay. So the verb here in this sub-pattern, is considered as a linking verb. Linking verb, whether in the form of be or linking verbs, which include seem, appear, become, grow, remain, taste, look, feel, smell, sound, get, continue, or even go. Though I know go can be considered as an intransitive verb. We are going to tackle this later in other patterns. Okay. So most of the verb listed here can occur in other sentence patterns as well. This is what I said, that we can see them in other patterns. We will see and comment on this later on. So it is important to know not only which verbs can occur in this sub-pattern, but also how to recognize and distinguish this sub-pattern from other patterns containing the same verbs. Okay, so I know that these verbs are considered as linking verbs, but sometimes I see the same verb but not only in this pattern but in other patterns carrying different grammatical meanings. So how to distinguish this pattern from other patterns? So can we follow certain tests? Can we follow certain rules? Can we follow certain ways to say if this sentence can be applicable to this test? If I apply this tense to this sentence, I'm going to consider that this sentence belongs to pattern number 2A, for example. Do we have tests? Yes, we can depend upon certain tests, specifically there are two, to say that this sentence belongs to pattern number 2, for example, A. Okay, so we can follow which test. The first one is called as expansion test. That's to say I'm going to expand the sentence to make it larger. I will add certain words to the sentence to see whether this sentence belongs to pattern number 2A or not. Okay, food is good. You remember this in the previous slide. We said the food is good, right? So we can say that food is good. How to expand the sentence to say that good food is very good? By repeating the same adjective, which is good, and putting it before food, before the subject, okay? And pre-modifying the adjective by very, by the qualifier. To say what? That good food is very good. That food is poisonous. That poisonous food is very poisonous. This is to say what? If I see that here the last element in this pattern is really adjective or adjectival, in this case it can be pre-modified by the qualifier like very. But if it doesn't accept such an expansion test, so it means what? That this sentence is no longer belonging to pattern number 2A, rather to other patterns. Let's take an example. That is, my mother is outside. My mother is the noun phrase, the subject of the sentence, is the verb to be, okay? Outside, I don't say now linking verb because I'm after analyzing the sentence to see whether it belongs to pattern number 2A or not. Okay, so it's outside. So do you think that outside here is an adjective? Of course it is not an adjective. So let's imagine that we don't know that outside here is what? An adjective. So let's apply the expansion test to see whether it belongs to pattern number 2 or not, and if outside here is an adjective or not. So we are going to apply the test to say my outside mother is very outside. Do you think it is correct? Of course not, because here I don't describe my mother as being outside, because here it doesn't describe the noun. It is no longer an adjective, rather an adverb. And here outside cannot be qualified by the modifier or the qualifier very to be outside or very outside. This means what? That this sentence that does not belong to pattern number 2. Okay, number 2, another test. So if the verb can be substituted away, if it is now, of course, if it is away from seem, if it can be substituted by seem, so I'm going to say it is this, for example, sentence this sentence belongs to pattern number 2. John appeared worried. So here we can substitute the verb appeared by seemed to see that this sentence belongs to pattern number 2A. So in this case we are going to say John seemed worried. John is the noun phrase which functions as the subject of the sentence. Seemed is the linking verb, and worry is the adjective or adjectival. That's to say pattern number 2A. Again, John is the noun phrase which has the meaning that grammatical meaning that which is that which is described seem be described as, this is the grammatical meaning, and worry here is the adjective, okay. But here we can look at the following sentence, the last sentence in this slide, to see what that the verb grew of grow, we have listed grow as being one of the linking verbs, right? But in this sentence, in the following sentence, in John grew quickly, it seems here that grew in this sentence is no longer the linking verb. Let's see. How is that? If I'm going to substitute grew in this sentence by the verb seemed, why seemed, not seemed, because it is in the past tense. So I'm going to see that it can't be substituted by seemed. Why is that? We will see. Okay, so let's substitute it to see what's wrong with this sentence. If I say John grew quickly, which is the sentence, the original sentence, John seemed quickly, the sentence will be what? Wrong, grammatically speaking. Why is that? Because the quickly is no longer the adjective, rather it is the adverb. So seem is supposed to be followed by what? An adjective rather than an adverb. So this means what? That grow as a verb can be followed by an adjective and an adverb. So it is if it is followed by an adjective, so it will be pattern number 2A. If it is followed by an adverb, so it means another pattern. So it cannot be substituted by here by seem, because it depends upon the kind of the complement here. Which type of complement? Here we don't have an adjective, rather than it is an adverb. Okay, this is sub-pattern A. So let's shift now to sub-pattern 2B, in which we have noun phrase 1, linking verb, noun phrase 1. Okay, so 3 elements: a noun phrase, a linking verb, and another noun phrase. But what do we have here? We have number 1 and number 1, noun phrase number 1 and noun phrase number 1. We have similar numbers. Why do we have numbers here, and why are they similar? Let's take an example to see what's wrong with the numbers here. Okay, my friend is a doctor. So my friend is a doctor. 3 elements. My friend here is the noun phrase, right? Sorry. Is one form of be, right? So till now I don't know whether it is linking verb or no. We're going to analyze to see. Okay, a doctor is another noun phrase. So okay, now who is the doctor? My friend, right? What's my friend? My friend is a doctor. So do you think now that my friend and a doctor refer to the same person? Yes. So whether I say a doctor or my friend, I mean the same person. So because I mean the same person, this means what? That my friend and a doctor have, both nouns have the same referent. Let's say the same reference. So because they refer, the same referent means they refer to the same person. So because the 2 noun phrases here refer to the same person, or in other example the same thing, either the same person or the same thing, this means that I have the same number. You see now? Again, the girl remained a good student. So I might ask a question: who remained a good student? The girl. So, and what's wrong with the girl? The girl remained a good student. So the good student and the girl, both of these two noun phrases refer to the same person. I'm talking about the same person, whether I say the girl or I say a good student. I'm talking about the same person, whether I say my friend or a doctor. Okay? So because they refer to the same person, this is why I say noun phrase number one, noun phrase number one. So again, the elements of pattern number 2B is that NP, noun phrase number one, plus linking verb, noun phrase number one. So why these two noun phrases carry the same number? Because the two noun phrases refer to the same person or the same thing. Sharing the same reference is the reason behind putting the same number. You get the idea now? Okay. So again, my friend is noun phrase number one. Be here is considered as linking verb. Why? Because adjecta, which is the completes the meaning of the subject. That's to say the subjective complement. It has now be, which is exemplified as is, links adjecta, which is the second noun phrase, with the subject. It combines, links the two nouns together. Okay, the same as remained, which is what here? Again, a linking verb. Why? Because it links a good student with the subject. So, okay. So, the superscript after the second noun phrase indicates that this noun phrase has the same referent as the first noun phrase. That is, in the first sentence, both my friend and adjecta refer to the same person. And in the second sentence, both the girl and the good student again refer to the same person. The linking verbs used in this subpattern mean be identified or classified as. So again, the grammatical meaning of the elements of this sentence are the following. The first noun phrase, that, which is identified, which may be identified, that which may be classified as, is or remained here. That's to say the linking verb here in this subpattern 2B has the grammatical meaning that is be identified or be classified as. Okay? And the grammatical meaning of the second noun phrase is that the subjective complement. Okay, what are the linking verbs away from be, of course, that can be used that can be used in this subpattern? They are be, of course, in its different forms: remain, become, appear, seem, continue, stay, and make. Okay, now we are going to see that sometimes I see the same verb but in different, let's say, patterns, or we see that there's a sense of confusion, that's to say an ambiguity raising in relation to two different sentences. Okay, let's take these examples. Donald continued my friend despite our differences. Donald is a noun phrase. We're going to see whether these two noun phrases in this sentence have the same reference or not. If they have the same reference, so that pattern number 2B. If they have different references, let's say they refer to two different persons, so it means away from pattern 2B. Okay, so Donald continued my friend. It means Donald is my friend. Donald seemed my friend. So that Donald and my friend have the same referent if they refer to the same person. So it is pattern number 2B. NP1, noun phrase number 1, plus linking verb continued, plus noun phrase number 1. So the two nouns, my friend and Donald, refer to the same person, so that they have the same reference. Okay, Donald met my friend in the barber shop. So Donald met. Of course, Donald will not meet himself. Okay? So it means what? That Donald met my friend. Let's say another person. So Donald and my friend, they are two different persons. So that this sentence does not belong to pattern number 2B. Okay, let's take another group of sentences. My brother became a doctor, and my brother was seeking a doctor. What's wrong with these two sentences? I might ask you to compare between these two sentences. So as far as patterns are concerned, so I'm going to say what? My brother became a doctor. This sentence belongs to pattern number 2B with justification. Let's say why. While the second sentence belongs to another pattern. It doesn't belong to pattern 2B. Why is that? Again, we are going to explain this. My brother became a doctor. This means my brother is the doctor. Seems the doctor. Okay? Is the doctor. Okay, so that's to say my brother and doctor, the two noun phrases mean the same person. That's to say my brother. Okay? Whether I say my brother, I mean the doctor, or I say the doctor, I mean my brother. So noun phrase 1, NP1, linking verb, NP1. So NP1, the subject my brother, linking verb became NP1, the second NB, that's to say is the subjective complement, a doctor. But my brother was seeking a doctor, that is to say he is after a doctor. He is looking for a doctor. He was searching a doctor. Okay? So my brother and the doctor, they are two different persons. That's to say my brother is no longer the doctor, he is the patient, the sick one. Okay? So in this case, this sentence does not belong to pattern number 2B, rather to another pattern. Okay. So what are the forms of the subject complements? They are only noun phrases? No. It can be a noun phrase, a noun, or even a pronoun. Let's see this. It's me. It is me. So it and me, both of them refer to the same, having the same reference. So pattern number 2B. That's to say, and noun phrase 1, linking verb, noun phrase 1. Me here is a pronoun. It is no longer noun or noun phrase. I might say it's Ali, it's me, it's the girl. So different forms of the subjective complement. That is she. Again, here you see, if you examine the examples as well, we are going to see here she, a subjective pronoun, while me in the objective pronoun. When this depends on the earlier, the traditional use of the pronouns, there is a challenge upon this. Leave this just to see that we have different forms functioning as a subjective complement. So again, that noun phrase 1 is linking verb, noun phrase, and she is the noun phrase number 1 again, which means the subjective complement. The caller to the radio show was him. So the caller to the radio show is what? Noun phrase number 1. That's to say the subject was the linking verb. Him, noun phrase number 1. Him again is the pronoun, objective pronoun, functioning as the subjective complement. So the two noun phrases here have the same reference. They refer to the same idea, they refer to the same person, or they refer to the same person. Let's stop here to take a rest.